So if you've ever felt the pressure to accept a relationship, maybe because of your age, your history, or even the fear of being alone, this video may well be for you.
Yeah. See, pressure is not how God leads. And if you don't recognize that early, you can end up committing to something that God never sent or intended.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right? I ignored red flags, probably many a red flag, because I believed a lie. And the lie was simply this: this may well be your last chance. And you know what? It ended up costing me years and years that I didn't have to lose.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about why external pressure is dangerous, especially when it comes dressed up as timing, and just like Davina was just saying, or God's will.
Or God's will. So, yeah. So, transparency moment, like Kevin and I were here pouring our lives out because that's what we do. That's what God's got us here doing. So, let's just put it out there. So, basically, as I've shared many times before, I got born again 2012. And God gave me a dream with an American man coming to my door 2014, end of 2014. So, I don't know if I've shared this before in a video, but anyhow, prior to getting born again, I was living in the Caribbean. Now, whilst I was living in the Caribbean, during that time, I ended up moving in with somebody, and they were American. They were American. They were working in the Caribbean, and they were American. So, needless to say, that didn't work out. That fell apart. I ended up moving back to the UK. At which point, during the time that I moved back into the UK, I think I had one serious relationship where I was actually living with somebody. But then there was also one other guy that I was interested in. That just so happened to be that he was British born but American raised. So he had an American accent. Now, I knew him before I got born again. But then when I got born again in 2012, he didn't get born again. And so there was tension in that relationship. But when God gave me that dream, I was convinced that this must be him because I'm in Great Britain. What are the chances of me coming across another American? Considering I had that past relationship when I was over in the Caribbean and now I'm back here and I just so happen to, be talking to another American. So when I had that dream and God basically said to me explicitly through that dream, in the next dream that I had, he gave me this person's name and telephone number, and on a piece of paper it had been crossed out and underneath he had written the number 820. We're not going to get into the number 820 in this particular video. It is relevant to our story, but not in this video. And he had crossed out his name and telephone number, and he was basically saying to me, that's not the guy. It's not him. And needless to say, time went by, a short space of time went by, and that friendship disintegrated because me talking about Jesus was too much and he didn't want to talk about Jesus. So that friendship ended. So there wasn't anything really serious. I didn't have another serious or considered anybody else as even interested in between 2015 to 2019. There wasn't really anybody on the scene. So in 2019, I ended up going to a conference in America. There was a conference I've always wanted to go to, or when I say always, since getting born again, I wanted to go to, but because of my work, I wasn't able to go there because it was during term time. But I ended up going to this conference, and in this conference, this is where I ended up meeting the gentleman that I mentioned on these videos. And so in that, I was like, this must be the one, because I've already got 2 Americans ticked off the list who are not it. And here's this American man in my dream. This must be the American, because if it's not him, what are the chances of me meeting another American, right? And not only that, when I was over there, just the day before I met him, somebody said these words to me. They said, I see you coming back to this conference, but you're not coming back alone. You're actually holding hands with somebody, right? So bearing in mind, this was the day before I met him. So when I did meet him, I was like, I started putting all of these things together. There was numerous dots that I was connecting and trying to make sense of all of this. However, after I came back, it wasn't very long after that we was having a conversation on the phone, and we was discussing something, like discussing next moves and how we go about it. And I remember just saying something simply like, oh, we should pray about it or invite invite Jesus into the situation so that we can like figure out what it is that he's saying to us rather than us just trying to make our own plans. At which point he simply said these words to me: "Oh, you're one of those Christians." And so, somebody might hear those words and think, yeah, that's really not that big of a deal. But when I tell you, when he said those words to me, it felt like a dagger. It felt like someone took a dagger, threw it in my heart and twisted it. But as I said, there were so many dots that seemed to be connected, that when he said it, even though it hurt and it was painful, I buried it. Like, I totally buried it, because I was like, ugh, what do I do with that? Because even if I start considering what I'm feeling now, that pain and that hurt, then that means I've got to dismiss all of the other dots. And I didn't allow myself to do that. I buried the pain of those words. And and because of that, I continued on in a relationship that if I'm being honest, from the very beginning, I knew I should have like taken a step back and been like, actually, is this where God is? And is this where I need to be?
Yeah. So by you, doing that and taking those, you ignoring those signs that was there, do you think the reason why you held on to this guy or what have you is because of maybe your type, that he was maybe your type of guy, that you had this type of guy you had in mind, and maybe you hung on to that because wait, the timing, this age, when I'm going to meet another American, and he's my type, so when the next time I'm going to go back to America or I'm going to meet another American guy, this must be the guy.
Yeah. I wouldn't even necessarily say he was my type. Like, he wasn't necessarily my type, but there were so many other factors that fitted.
Because you took it, it goes back to the dream, yeah?
Yeah, it goes back to the dream, because this is the thing, right? Like, I had wanted to go to this conference. I remember asking it at my workplace in 2017, can I go to this conference? And they explicitly told me, no, it's in term time. You're not allowed to take holidays during term time. We can't give you this time off. And I was like, okay, all right. I felt totally deflated. Now, here's the thing. I know that I stayed in that position because God asked me to stay there all those years. So I remember going back to him. I didn't say anything in 2018 because I was like, what's the point? But in 2019, the urge, the desire to go to this conference was still there. So I remember having this conversation with God, and I'm like, God, I really want to go to this conference, but I can't go because you've asked me to stay in this position. And if I stay in this position, I can't get any time off to go there. How am I ever going to get to go to this place? I want to go. And it was in that where I felt like God said to me, ask again. And I was like, okay, ask again. So I ended up asking again. And this time, the same head teacher that said no the first time ended up saying yes. They said yes. Yeah. And I was like, you mean I can go? And they said, yeah. And so I was able to take a week off, like, during term time to go to this conference. So I'm already like, God's in this. He's the one that opened the door to allow me to go to America to be at this conference. Then whilst I was at this conference, I met this lady, and we were just conversing and stuff, like over the course of a few days. And it was the day before she said to me, I don't know why, I just got an image and I saw you coming back to this conference, but you're holding hands with somebody. And I was like, wow, okay. And I remember saying to her, well, whoever that person is, he needs to hurry up because I'm tired of waiting. Now, the very next
external pressure.
day, the very next day, I met this guy. I met him and I was like, this must be him. He's American. The lady said that I see you holding hands and coming back to this conference with somebody. They gave me permission from work to go to this conference where before they said no. Everything to me was just like, this must be it. This must be it. And I got excited. So when I came back and, I was excited and then, here's this guy now saying, oh, I like you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. Finally, this is the guy. So now we're talking and maybe like, a couple weeks in, it's like we're just talking about how we're going to see each other again and blah, 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 blah. And then he says something along the lines of, oh, you're one of those Christians. Now, when I tell you, it wasn't just a it wasn't just like it was like something in my spirit. It felt like something just tore in two when he said it. And it wasn't a light thing. It was like wounded. And in that, I remember my face changed and he was like, what's up? Like, what's up? And in that, I just caught myself and I just said, I can't remember what I said exactly, but it was just like, I dismissed it. Like laughed it off, like ha ha ha, and laughed it off. But I was broken on the inside, and I completely dismissed it.
You ignored that warning sign when it told you that this not it.
It's not it, because my desire was to make everything else that was external fit.
Mm-hmm.
And I dismissed what I knew to be true on the inside about me. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is, as the relationship then continued, I then had to begin losing more and more of myself in order to fit into the relationship. Mm-hmm. Because I was always going to be seen as one of those Christians.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I was trying my best not to be whatever one of those Christians meant.
Yeah, it sounded like you started losing yourself. You losing your voice. It sounded like you was losing your peace, and you was adding more pressure to making this person fit where they really wasn't the one.
Wasn't the one. I wasn't the one for him. He wasn't the one for me. I was doing everything I could to make it fit. And even as the relationship went on, it's like we were bickering, we were, petty arguments, having to apologize to each other all the time. It was burdensome. It was tiresome. And like I said, by the time I got to the end of 2021, like COVID happened in between. I made the scripture fit COVID in terms of why, our drought season. I made it all fit. It was me. I made it all fit.
Why you put all that pressure on yourself like that? That's a lot.
Because I wanted it to fit. I wanted it to work. Because it's like I saw all these external things and I wanted it to work. But even when we was talking about it and thinking about it, I was thinking about that story in John 11 with Jesus and Lazarus. And so, I'm reminded even like where Martha and Mary, they ended up sending Jesus a note to say that Lazarus was sick. And when I think about that whole thing, I was like, that was pure manipulation, like external manipulation. If anyone hasn't read it, it's in John 11, starting from verse 1. And they sent a letter saying to him, the one that you love if is sick. Basically, you need to come and you need to come right now. Because if you love Lazarus, you'll come and do something about it. And it's like, you need to make a decision. And it's like, I feel like God was saying to me, even through that scripture and what he may be saying to some of us ladies, you don't have to bow to external pressure. Like, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, don't bow to external pressure. Don't override what you know to be true on the inside. Because even in that, Jesus received that letter. And it even says, he loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. But he did not allow that to manipulate him and get him to do something that was out of time or out of season. In fact, he waited an additional 2 days before he did anything. And I think to myself, if I had just listened to that prompting on the inside and hadn't dismissed it, would I have had to go through the pain that I went through, and which then led to the disappointment, which then led to me having to be built back up?
Yeah. That's the thing. We have to move in peace, people. We have to, if it's not peaceful, why we rushing? Jesus waited. He didn't move on that external pressure. He didn't move when they sent him a note, the one whom you love. He didn't move on that. He said, okay, I'm going to move when it's peaceful and when I'm ready to go.
When I'm ready to go. Could you imagine though, like, because normally when somebody calls you and like something's happened, it's like people enter into panic mode and they're running around their houses and trying to grab stuff and grab the kids, and you pick up the stuffed doll instead of your own baby, and people are trying to put shoes on.
Could you imagine them? Hurry up, man! Grab my sandals! And then Then when they leaving out the door, somebody grab some apples.
Yeah.
You know, just in case they get hungry along the way. I mean, that's like, why are we doing all that? Why are we rushing? And Jesus didn't rush at all. He said, I'm moving in peace.
Yeah, in fact, he even said, this is for the glory of my Father.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, yeah, God knows what's going on. My Father knows what's going on. I'm not moving.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be twisted by your letter.
Yeah. And ladies, don't let nobody twist you. Don't let that pressure hit you. Just move in peace. When you can't find it, when we don't see it, you ask the Lord. Lord, where are you in this? I want peace in this. Where are you in this? What am I supposed to be doing at this moment? Why is this happening right now? It's okay to go and ask him that. Yeah. But remember, it's got to be peaceful. If y'all know, I tell you, I'm about peace. Wherever I go, it's going to be peace. Whatever I'm doing, it's going to be peace. So take that and say, I'm going to move in peace. Everything about me is going to be in peace. So receive things in peace and go to the Lord for it. Go and he said, cast all your care upon me. That means everything. It don't matter what it is. He said, bring me everything. And when you move in that peace, you'll start seeing the glory of the Lord in that.
Yeah. So I know I'm not the only one who is bowed to some form of external pressure, right? So I just want you to ask yourself, pause for a moment and ask yourself this simple question. Where have I felt pressure influencing my decisions instead of peace? Where have you felt pressure influencing your decisions instead of peace? I want you just to put it in the comments, because the thing about it is Kevin and I, we read through the comments.
We read the comments. We read your comments, and thank you. So keep them coming. We love them.
Yeah, we definitely love seeing the comments and stuff. So, just so you know, if this video is hitting home and you are tired of the wait and you're tired of doing it alone, then we just want to let you know that the Wednesday Circle is open. And the Wednesday Circle is our private community for women who have a desire to hear God clearly and stop making decisions from pressure. And so basically the link is in the description. And if it's for you, you'll know. So we'll see you there.
And guess what? If you're not ready for that step, just stay connected. Just stay connected to the videos, and because we post every week.
We post every week.
Yeah.
And it seems as though God's got us laying our lives out here like as a demonstration.
Yeah. Yeah. So we thank you guys for watching this video, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.